Welcome to Woke House YouTube channel. Today I wanted to tell you the story of a monk that I can really identify with. This guy. Seems like he joined the Buddhist community, the Sangha, and he became a monk and was following Buddha around. And I don't know for how long he had been a monk, but one day he just snapped and he got all pissed off and he stormed up the hill and he confronted Buddha and he said, I've been following you this whole time. I've become a monk. I renounced my life. I renounced my householdership. I left my family. I took the vows of becoming a monk. I've been following you around, begging for food, and yet you still haven't taught me the answer to all these at least 10 questions that I have. And that's like, is there a God? Is there not a God? Is life eternal? Is it not eternal? Is the world eternal? Is the world not eternal? And so on. He had all these questions for the Buddha. And he was really upset. He said, you've never taught me. You never, vanquished my doubts when it comes to these things. And so Buddha said, well, let me ask you a question. Did I ever tell you, hey, if you renounce your householder life and shave your head and become a monk and follow me around, I was going to give you the answers to any of these questions? And the monk, he had to agree that Buddha had never said, hey, come follow me and I'll answer all these questions for you. And so the guy was stuck in a situation knowing that he had dreamt up all this fantasy of him thinking, well, if I become a monk and if I follow this guy Buddha, then I'm going to get the answers to all these questions. He had dreamed that up. Buddha had never said that he was going to answer those questions. But out of compassion, Buddha didn't leave him in that state. Buddha said, so let me tell you something. Suppose a guy was shot with an arrow and they ran and got the doctor, and when the doctor showed up, the guy said, no, don't pull the arrow out. Don't pull out the arrow until I find out who shot me. What was the guy's name that shot me? And then why? Why did he shoot me? And where did he get the arrow? And how was the arrow made? And did he put poison on the arrow, or is there no poison on the arrow? And what is his family? Does his family also hate me? Who put him up to shooting me? And so he leaves the arrow in and holds the doctor back, saying, answer all these questions first before you pull out the arrow and before he actually got help. So Buddha said, is this guy acting foolishly or is he acting wisely? And the monk had to agree that that was pretty foolish to turn away the doctor and not allow him to give him medical treatment until all these superficial questions were answered. And Buddha said, yeah, so, in the same respect, use my teachings to pull out the arrow of suffering. And once you've pulled out the arrow of suffering, then you may see clearly enough to answer some of these questions for yourself. Or you might even find that all these questions have been irrelevant. These questions were an attempt to eliminate suffering. You think if you knew the answer to these questions that you wouldn't suffer anymore. But in fact, it was just part of the samsaric mind, the monkey mind jumping from tree to tree, unsatisfied with this present moment. And in this present moment, there was suffering. This guy could have used Buddhist teachings. We can use the Buddhist teachings to pull out that arrow of suffering. And then, once we're not confronted by this vast inundation of suffering from our own mind, we'll be tranquil enough to think of these things And if there are some logical answers, then they'll naturally arise. We won't have to force them. And at the same time, even if Buddha knew the answer to any of these questions, nobody's revelations will satisfy you. You can go hear a sermon, you can go to a certain church or join a certain religious organization, and their revelations aren't your revelations. You can read a book and you might agree with some of the things in the book, but until you see those things yourself, they'll never give you any comfort. So Buddha was once again going to the middle path, saying you have to find out for yourself. And secondly, worry about this present moment. Worry about right now. Why are you suffering? You're not suffering because you don't know whether there's a God or there's not a God, because you don't know if the earth is eternal or not eternal. You're not suffering for any of those reasons. You're suffering because your mind is not at rest. So first, pull out the arrow of suffering, become content, and then if there are still left any questions, they'll naturally resolve themselves. So, like I say, I totally identify with that monk. I've spent vast amounts of time trying to figure out if, everything from are there actually aliens in the universe? Are channelers actually channeling something beyond this realm? Is there heavens? Is there a hell? Is psychic abilities real? You name it. I've looked it up. I've researched it. And in the end, it was a waste of time. I have to be present right here, right now, and content. If I am in suffering, no answer on God's green earth is going to satisfy me if I can't be satisfied myself, just here, just now. All right, we'll talk to you later. We'll follow up this video with possibly another message about the Eightfold Path, or maybe another story that there's other stories in Buddhism that I'd like to cover that really explain the truth of what Buddha taught, that we have to come to our own realization, that we can't accept anybody else's enlightenment. Thank you.